April 25, 2005, the PPSTA main office received a letter from the Insurance Commission dated April 21, 2005 through then Insurance Commissioner Sir Benjamin S. Santos addressed to the PPSTA Board of Trustees, placing the association under conservatorship pursuant to then Sections 407 and 248 of the Insurance Code, partly quoted as follows. If at any time before or after the suspension or revocation of the certificate of authority of an insurance company as provided in the preceding title, the Commissioner finds that such company is in a state of continuing inability or unwillingness to maintain a condition of solvency or liquidity deemed adequate to protect the interest of policyholders and creditors, he may appoint a conservator to take charge of the assets, liabilities, and the management of such company, collect all monies and debts due said company, and exercise all powers necessary to preserve the assets of said company, reorganize the management thereof, and restore its viability. The said conservator shall have the power to overrule or revoke the actions of the previous management and the board of directors of the said company, any provision of law or of the articles of incorporation or bylaws of the company, to the contrary notwithstanding, and such other powers as the Commissioner shall deem necessary. With such placement came the appointment of the first conservators in the persons of Mr. Daniel A. Gomez Jr. and the late Attorney Francis X. Perez. Management cleanup then ensued, bent towards tracing the source of the problem in order to come up with clear-cut solutions while at the same time conserving the funds of the organization. After merely months into conservatorship, Insurance Commissioner Santos was replaced by the late Madame Evangeline Escobillo, who subsequently replaced Attorney Perez, and Mr. Gomez with the late Mr. Francisco E. Josef, a banker and economist. Under Mr. Josef's regime, a formal management committee or MANCOM was put in place, composed of the heads of the different departments of the office. He then continued the initiatives of his predecessors and eventually complemented the same with his own brand of leadership, commitment, and management. It was during his time that despite oppositions from certain groups, he managed to lead the amendments of the Articles of Incorporation and bylaws of the association through a constitutional convention held at the Development Academy in Tagaytay City, attended by the regional and local chapter presidents. Notable among the amendments were the required independent trustees in the board and the putting of cap to the term of the board members, that is, a maximum of 2 consecutive terms. Apart from amending the corporate articles and bylaws, he was also instrumental in reviving the Board of Trustees by calling for a National Representative Assembly and elections also in Tagaytay City in December 2006, which successfully pushed through despite efforts from other parties for certain courts of justice to issue temporary restraining orders for the holding thereof. Victors in the election of Board of Trustees were Dr. Mario Ramirez from Region 2, who was elected as the batch's president, the late Dr. Florencio Cordero for Region 4B, Dr. Gilbert Sadsad for Region 5, the current president of the association, Dr. Cirila Villegas for Region 8, the late Dr. Albert Corpus for Region 9, the late Dr. Prudencio Mabanglo for Region 11, Haji Abdullah Andang for Region 12, Mr. Francis Loque for Caraga or Region 13, Dr. Udtog Kawit for then Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao or ARC, who was then elected as Vice President, and the late Madam Luz Viminda Galang for the National Capital Region. As some regions refused to participate in the elections, the Board of Trustees and the Conservator, with the intention to ensure equal representation of all regions in the board, decided to appoint the regional chapter presidents, if qualified, or the DepEd Director in the region. Hence came the following: Sir Bonifacio Miguel of Region 1, Sir Juanito Palasigi of Region 3, Sir Reynaldo Luna of Region 4A, the late Sir Jose Taneza of Region 6, the late Sir Licerio Napaw of Region 7, the late Dr. Estrella Babano of Region 10, and Sir Arthur Tiongan of the Cordillera Administrative Region or CAR. Madam Cristina Manalo, who was elected as trustee for the National Capital Region in May 28, 2022 NRA and who recently passed away earlier this month, was also part of this board as she came in to replace Madam Luz Viminda Galang, who passed away during her incumbency. This batch of Board of Trustees was the transition group. They managed to work hand in hand with the conservator as the cleansing process continued. It was actually during their time that a hearing panel was created to look into certain transactions of the previous board, particularly the uniform deal and the reinsurance transactions. Moreover, it was also during their reign that PPSTA was able to enhance the mutual benefit programs of the association from the old mutual aid system or the old MAS to the mutual aid system 65 or MAS 65, and from the new mutual retirement benefit system or NMRBS to the mutual retirement benefit system plus or MRBS plus. Aside from such enhancement, PPSTA also began the establishment of PPSTA sub-offices to bring PPSTA closer to the members, starting off with the office in La Union, Region 1, adopted a service motto, Bayani ka, Gurong Pilipino, ang PPSTA kumakalinga sa iyo. Adopted the PPSTA hymn, conducted the annual search for outstanding educators as well as PPSTA employees, implemented the Member Get Member program, regained representation in the Board of Trustees of the Government Service Insurance System or GSIS through President Ramirez, and waged a massive campaign for the enactment of Senate Bill No. 2408 that called for the increase in teacher salaries, which was eventually realized. In the later part of 2008, Commissioner Escobillo was replaced as Insurance Commissioner. This change led to the replacement as well of Mr. Josef as the PPSTA Conservator by the manager of the Insurance Commission's Conservatorship, Receivership, and Liquidation Division, Attorney John A. Apatan, a CPA lawyer. Attorney Apatan eyed a faster resolution on the concern relating to reserves. Hence, with the Board of Trustees, PPSTA managed to implement reserve building measures, particularly the Equity Application Policy, the Early Redemption Program for Old Mutual Retirement Benefit System or Old MRBS, and the Early Redemption Program for exempted members of the Old Mutual Aid System or Old MAS. To ensure the momentum in the building of reserves, which he started with the then Board of Trustees, he postponed the holding of the NRA and election in 2009, but he created the Regional Representative Team, led by him and composed of key officers in the management level. He then scheduled the representative assemblies of the regional chapters, and the team comprehensively delivered reports and updates on the different facets of PPSTA management and operations. Even with the conservatorship status of PPSTA, Attorney Apatan saw the need to support professional enhancement activities of the association. Thus, in 2009, he revived the participation of PPSTA in the ASEAN Council of Teachers or ACT, which is now known as the ASEAN Council of Teachers Plus One or ACT Plus One, following the inclusion in the organization of the Korean Federation of Teachers Association or KFTA. In fact, he was the conservator when PPSTA accepted the call for PPSTA to host the 2010 convention of the organization. And in 2010, PPSTA under his conservatorship and with the Board of Trustees led by President Ramirez, PPSTA successfully hosted the 2010 ACT Convention in Subic, Zambales, attended by around 2,000 teacher leaders, not only from the country but from Southeast Asia and Korea. It was in fact the biggest convention in the history of the Council. The current PPSTA President, Dr. Gilbert Sadsad, played a big role in the holding thereof as the master ceremony in the activities and at the same time, chairperson of the program committee. In terms of management and operations, it was during Attorney Apatan's time that the PPSTA roving team was created and set in motion for the purpose of membership generation. For the purpose of affording a more focused monitoring and supervision of the day-to-day operations of the office, the Commission, through the Honorable Insurance Commissioner, Attorney Emmanuel Dook, appointed a General Manager in 2012 in the person of Mr. Carlos Itorzaita, who worked in coordination with the Commission, Attorney Apatan as ex-officio conservator, the Board of Trustees, and the management. In addition, the Commission likewise appointed an independent trustee in former DepEd Undersecretary, Attorney Franklin Sunga. It was also around this time that the processing of loan applications began at sub-office levels, and the management started to adapt more convenient modes in the collection of annual premium payment from retirees through cash deposits in PPSTA accounts and bills payment at branches of the United Coconut Planters Bank or UCPB, as well as in the granting of loan proceeds through the remittance system of Banco de Oro or BDO. It was also during this time that the maximum loanable amount for Sariling Sikap loan was increased to 100,000 pesos. In December of the same year, the NRA and election was held where a new set of Board of Trustees was elected, to wit, Dr. Primo Mina of Region 1, former Regional Director Teresita Domalanta of Region 2, Sir Arturo Maniaol of Region 3, who served as Vice President from 2016 to June 30, 2022, Sir Manuel Garcia of Region 4A, the late Sir Herminio Badenas of Region 4B, Sir Oscar Peña Florida of Region 5, who served as Vice President from January 2013 to December 2015, Sir Pio Bengan Jr. of Region 6, Madam Silvestra Mende of Region 7, Madam Luisa Yu of Region 8, DepEd Regional Director Arturo Bayocot of Region 9, Dr. Victor Barroso of Region 10, Sir Vicente Carballo of Region 11, Dr. Kahar Makasayon of Region 12, the President of the batch, and managed to serve in such capacity until June 30, 2022, Madam Felicitas Gonzalez of Region 13 Caraga, Madam Bay Sara Majerna of then ARM, Sir Fernando Eleponga of CAR, and Congresswoman Franz Castro of the NCR. The newly elected Board of Trustees assumed office in January 2013. Weeks after their assumption, they were joined by additional IC-appointed independent trustees, Attorney Nacer Marahom Salik, Attorney Jim Fondevilla, and Sir Mark Frondoso. Moreover, in the later part of the year, PPSTA saw a new conservator in Attorney Moises Balon, who solidified a partnership with the Board of Trustees. With Attorney Balon and the elected Board of Trustees, PPSTA was able to empower the sub-offices in terms of loan and membership processing, enhance modes of loan proceed remittance in partnership with some banks, implement the Early Redemption Program or ERP for New Mutual Retirement Benefit System or NMRBS, implement the Equity Loan Program for NMRBS, modify the Equity Application Policy or EAP in order to relax the requirements for covered members who wish to revert as members of good standing, increase the maximum loanable amount for Sariling Sikap loan from 100,000 pesos to 300,000 pesos, prolong loan term from 2 to 3 years, and reduce the interest rate to 7.5% per annum regardless of loan term. Increase the maximum loanable amount under the Instant Loan Program from 50,000 pesos to 100,000 pesos. Implement the Mass 65 and MRBS Plus Certificate Loan as well as the Edukasyon Tungo sa Kinabukasan Loan Program or EDUC Loan. Change the basic plan from Mass 65 to New Mutual Aid System or NMAS. And create and put in place a microinsurance program for the dependents of active PPSTA members through the Guru Lingap Pamilya Program or GLPP. In December of 2015, another NRA and election was held. Most of the incumbent trustees got their second term, while Trustee Manuel Garcia of Region 4A was replaced by Trustee Licas, and Trustee Baysara Majerna was replaced by Trustee Somerado Pandapatan. The reserve build-up initiatives then continued without sacrificing teacher-based activities and programs. In 2016, the board welcomed additional IC-appointed independent trustees in Attorney Marilyn Gallanosa, Attorney Dominic Solis, and a little later, Attorney Melanio Elvis Balayan. It was also this year that PPSTA regained a seat in the GSIS Board of Trustees through President Makasayon. In 2017, the Department of Education or DepEd implemented major revisions in its automatic payroll deduction system or APDS, which gave a major blow in our loan operations and membership generation, as the system required the establishment of offices in provinces before they can accommodate new business or new accounts or new deductions from the salaries of teachers. It also required the adoption of one loan policy per borrower, clearance from a debt verifier, and adoption of diminishing balance computation of monthly amortization, which are all new to PPSTA. Nonetheless, measures were adopted in order for PPSTA to cope up with the needed changes. When Attorney Balon passed away in January 2018, Insurance Commissioner Dennis Funa appointed then Independent Trustee Attorney Naser Maroham Salik as PPSTA Conservator. Upon assumption to office, he closely observed the movement of the financial portfolio of the association and acknowledged the significance of the courses of action for reserve buildup and other policies and programs initiated by his predecessors, which include, among others, the equity application policy, as well as the early redemption programs for the old mutual benefit products. Hence, these plans, programs, and initiatives were continued. But of course, he was all supportive of causes intended for teachers, including those for the communities. In fact, it was during his term that PPSTA hosted the 2018 Act Plus 1 convention held at the Century Park Hotel in Manila, which was graced by the presence of then Education Secretary Dr. Leonor Magtolis Briones as guest of honor and received great accolades from the delegates, both foreign and local, as well as everyone who were there present. While at these, Attorney Maroham Salik likewise afforded a more focused and special attention on the conditions of the Commission for the lifting of the Conservatorship order over the association. He keenly supervised PPSTA's action plans to comply with such conditions, and working together with the Board of Trustees and the management, PPSTA was able to amend the Articles of Incorporation and Bylaws, conduct the 2022 NRA and elections following the provisions of the amended Articles of Incorporation and Bylaws, comply with IC's Risk-Based Capital Ratio or RBC requirement of 125%, commence the Rationalization Plan, Full Computerization Program and Reinsurance Programs, and further increase the maximum loanable amount under the Sariling Sikap loan from 300,000 pesos to 500,000 pesos and extend the loan term from 3 to 5 years. While a conservatorship scenario is unpopular to some quarters, we at PPSTA knows how much efforts the Insurance Commission through the conservators invested in putting everything in its proper perspective. They have provided all the technical know-hows in the proper management of a mutual benefit association, which should be replicated or emulated by current and future leaders of our organization. It should be emphasized from a total members' equity of negative 368.991 million and net deficit of negative 493.268 million in 2005, PPSTA now stands tall with a total members' equity of 3.596 billion and income before legal reserves of 177.986 million as of June 30, 2022. Yes, these figures, despite the excruciating effects of the pandemic that is COVID-19 and all other dragging circumstances. The battle that is conservatorship is over and we are all victors. The Commission, the conservators, the members of the Board of Trustees, the members of the constitutional committees, the management, the employees, the regional and chapter presidents and officers, all past and present, the stakeholders, and of course, the members. Indeed, none of us is better than all of us. And so, from PPSTA to the Insurance Commission, thank you so much. We at PPSTA are forever grateful. To the one above, the source of everything, we offer you all this glory.